it sure seems like Nancy Pelosi gets very sensitive when people start to question her about what happened on January 6, 2021 at the U.S. Capitol. Yes, we are going to start with that. My microphone is not, it always comes back and whacks me in the face. I am not a hardware person. I've tried to get the screwdriver and fix this thing, and I think I've totally made it worse. I am not a handyman, so I'm going to have to get my husband to do it. I can't handle this little thing when it comes and hits me in the face. Good morning. I haven't had enough coffee, can you tell? We're going to be talking about Nancy Pelosi and how she went absolutely berserk when she was cornered by a reporter and asked some questions about January 6th. And we're also going to be talking about a House Democrat making this really insulting closing argument. I mean, we're in the final weeks here prior to the election. The Virginia voters are going to have to decide between a guy who fantasized about killing his political opponents and, well, the other one. Okay, there's one candidate who fantasizes about killing children, the children of his political opponents, and them dying in front of their parents. And then on the other side, well, I guess that candidate didn't do that. So the Virginia voters, they shouldn't buy what this House Democrat is selling. I've got that article coming up. I'm going to share that with you. Bloomington. Do you live in Bloomington? Throw it in the comment section. Bloomington's grocery tax scam. They are about ready, and I've seen this. I've been covering news, local politics for quite some time. This happens every single time. They raise a tax, and then they say, oh, it's going to be for public safety or for infrastructure, because that is the role of government, is to ensure public safety, police, fire, things like that, and basic infrastructure, your sewer system, your roads. And they say, oh, we're raising taxes to address those things. Right? And it never winds up where those things actually get fixed. They just wind up spending all of your money on woke infrastructure, and they're lying to you. They are lying to you. It is the woke infrastructure lie that they don't want you to see. And I'm going to break down the grocery tax, where it came from, how Bloomington actually just raised their water rates, and they claimed that was going to overhaul the rates being raised. That's going to overhaul our water system, our outdated water system. But apparently they need more tax to address the water system and the infrastructure and the sewer. The consolidated sewer system. You guys remember back in, 2023? When all the crap, and I mean that literally, was backing up into your homes and making people sick. They had to go to hotel rooms. That's how bad the infrastructure, the hard infrastructure, is in Bloomington. And why is it so bad? Because they spend all of their money on woke infrastructure. So we're going to break that down. You won't want to miss any of it. Seems like Speaker of the House, former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't like it when people question her, and I don't know. Yesterday I said that Katie Porter was probably the meanest Democrat. I shouldn't have said that, because this was pretty mean. I don't know. I think Katie Porter still, being that she allegedly poured boiling, scalding hot potatoes over her ex-husband's head, she might still take the cake if those allegations were to be true, for meanest Democrat or meanest politician. But Pelosi's pretty mean here. So there was a reporter. She was from Lindell TV. Her name's Allison Steinberg. And she was concerned. She asked Nancy Pelosi if she was concerned about the January 6th committee. So there's a new January 6th committee. I've talked about this before. And she asked if Nancy Pelosi was concerned if she was going to be found liable for that day, being that she refused the National Guard on January 6th. And then she asked her, why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th? And that is when Pelosi went absolutely berserk. Take a look. Here we go.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you. Congresswoman Pelosi.
She smiles. As if you're a serious journalist. Why? She's not a serious journalist because she asked you a question you didn't like? Oh, okay. She's not serious to you. She's not left wing. She's not Democrat talking points. So therefore, she must not be a serious journalist. So Lindell TV actually posted a replay of Pelosi's comments on the matter on January 6th, by the way. So at the time she said this, they shared this out on X with that new clip. And this is what's so fascinating, folks. Nancy Pelosi admitted that it was her fault. Okay, so this wasn't even like a gotcha question. She admitted on that day, take a listen, that I'm taking responsibility for not having them. Take a listen to this. Here we go.
We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them. Just prepare for more. We did not have any accountability for what was.
That was on January 6, 2021. I take responsibility for them just prepare for more, not having them there and to have them prepare for more. Okay, she said that at the time. So I don't know why she got all pissy with the reporter because she herself has admitted that she didn't send the National Guard. President Donald Trump had inquired before January 6th, before the day actually happened, and inquired about the National Guard, offered the National Guard, but the Capitol Police turned it down. Okay, and the former Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Sund, said because they didn't get the approval from the Sergeant at Arms. Okay, this is what happened on that day. Now, the Sergeant at Arms didn't get approval because of quote unquote optics. Okay, the Sergeant at Arms, the then House Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving, he, who is his higher up, okay, he didn't get an approval. Who's his higher up? It's Nancy Pelosi. Okay, so Stephen Sund, the former Capitol Police Chief, said it wasn't approved for more than an hour on January 6th. So once the action started to happen at the U.S. Capitol, he kept requesting the National Guard, and they didn't send anybody until about an hour into the action already unfolding. So here's what Sund, the former Capitol Police Chief, he posted on X in response to Nancy Pelosi's little freak out there with the Lindell TV reporter. He says, let me lay out the timeline for you. Ma'am, let me help refresh your memory. It was your Sergeant at Arms who repeatedly denied multiple requests for National Guard assistance before and on January 6th. Even on January 6th, your Sergeant at Arms designed my urgent request for 70 minutes while he was running it up the chain for approval. Okay, so the Pentagon offered National Guard assistance, but I had to decline because your SAA, your Sergeant at Arms, would not grant me legal authority as required under federal law. And then he cites the statute in his X post. So Steinberg, the reporter here, she noted that there is a new January 6th committee. They're looking into things. Representative Barry Loudermilk, he's a Republican from Georgia. He's heading up that committee, and perhaps that is why Nancy Pelosi is a bit nervous here, and she reacted the way she did because she's a little bit nervous about this new January 6th committee looking into things, and she might be nervous about what they're just going to uncover. So let's get to Jay Jones. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, support the program by, of course, purchasing your bottle of premium pre-workout today. This is patriotpumpenergy.com. You can go get your free fruit punch pre-workout. This has 150 milligrams of caffeine. We pair it with black pepper extract. There's creatine in it. Really great stuff. No artificial colors. So much better for you than the crap that's on the shelves if you're a big energy drink person. This is also going to save you a ton of money. Okay. Especially when you use promo code ConservativeCat at checkout. So let's talk about Jay Jones, because the fallout from the texting scandal continues to rock this race for Attorney General in Virginia. We're just a few weeks away from an election. And there's new polling out that shows that the GOP Attorney General, the incumbent, Jason Miyares, he is leading now the embattled Democrat nominee, the Attorney General nominee, Jay Jones, and he's leading him by 6 points. Okay. And that was after the incumbent Attorney General was trailing by 4 points in a previous poll. So this whole scandal really worked. Okay. The leaking of the text messages, clearly it was probably some sort of political stunt. They came out. This was, I think, 2021 or 2, when he was texting back and forth with somebody about how he was fantasizing killing the then Virginia Speaker of the House, Todd Gilbert. And he was texting back and forth with somebody, fantasizing about killing him and putting 2 bullets in his head, and his kids dying in front of their parents, and while their mom watches them dying. It was really screwed up text messages. Okay. And now, according to this polling, it looks like there is what I call an up ballot effect. Okay. So the gubernatorial race, there is a huge race going on there, the lieutenant governor's race. And both these races are now at statistical ties. Okay, so the lieutenant governor race and the gubernatorial race, they're at statistical ties and within the margin of error. Now you compare that to the prior poll that was taken just a few days before the scandal broke. There was before, by the way, there was a debate, a gubernatorial debate. The now Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, she was battling out with Abigail Spanberger. Okay, and there was a debate, and prior to that debate taking place, prior to the scandal, they had Winsome Sears trailing her opponent by a whole lot. Okay, now it's statistically tied, and it's kind of within this margin of error, and she's way closer, Winsome Sears. Okay, so the text that I'm referring to, they were sent in August of 2022, and it included, like, the text messages where Jay Jones fantasizing about killing the then Speaker of the House, Todd Gilbert, who's a Republican, with 2 bullets to the head. He was fantasizing about that over text message, and then Gilbert's children dying in his wife Jennifer's arms. Okay, so this is texts that were revealed. Now, Jones, he did acknowledge sending them. And at first he kind of got all butthurt about it and didn't apologize. But eventually he issued a statement and did apologize. But he's also facing allegations. He denied these allegations. He acknowledged sending the text, but he denied these allegations, where he remarked in a phone conversation he had that if a few police officers were killed as a result of not having qualified immunity, that law enforcement would actually change their tactics with suspects. Now, I will get into those allegations. Just give me a minute. I want to tell you about what he did when the text messages came out, because that's really important. The young Republicans right away, they came out and issued an apology. Some argue that they shouldn't have issued an apology. I think that truly, it's not great to call, even in joke, Black people watermelon people. Okay, it's not a great thing. And if they're repentant in heart, maybe not a public statement. I don't think it warranted a public statement. Repentance of your heart and asking God for forgiveness. We all say things that we shouldn't say, even in joke. Our words are very important. We covered that yesterday. But in the aftermath of those group chats being leaked, the young Republicans came out with a statement right away and condemned the actions and the messages sent by some of these young Republican leaders in this Telegram group chat. The same could not be said for Jay Jones. At first, he started lashing out at the Virginia AG, the incumbent AG, and then he started bashing Donald Trump. And instead of offering a direct apology with the backlash building, he eventually issued out a second statement. So it wasn't his first statement, it was his second one, where he gave a half-ass apology, maybe showed a little bit of remorse, but then suggested in that statement that it's pretty common for people to wish murder upon their political opponents and their children. So since then, since his second statement, he's pledged to stay in the race. And Democrats, including gubernatorial candidate during the debate with Winsome Sears, she did not denounce him as a candidate, did not say he should be disqualified. Democrats are rushing to reaffirm their support for this guy after he issued a second statement, not the first statement. The first statement was bashing Donald Trump and his political rival here, the incumbent attorney general. And then the second statement, he finally showed a little bit of remorse, but in the same statement suggested that it was pretty common to wish death upon your political opponent or to fantasize about it. And what was said in this text message exchange in 2022 does not even come close to what was said in the Young Republican group chat. Okay, it was all taken out of context by Politico. They made jokes. Okay, and when you put it into context, a lot of it was sarcastic, definitely not intending to come off as, bigoted or racist. They were being sarcastic in most of these text messages. So, for example, the I love Hitler text message or the group chat from the Young Republicans. You read the whole exchange, they're saying, they say that we're fascist. Yeah, I just love Hitler. I mean, it was taken out of context by Politico. I say that on my show. I go, I just love it. Yeah, I'm KKK. Like, I'm being sarcastic. And they're being sarcastic in this group chat. And it was just totally taken out of context by Politico. But anyway, I bring that up just for comparison. Okay. The Young Republicans, they came out right away with a statement and apologized. You will not see that come, you did not see that come from Jay Jones, because he issued a second statement, showed a little bit of remorse, but still suggested that it was pretty common for people to wish murder upon their political opponents. So, as is pretty often in situations like this, in cases like this, this isn't the first skeleton in his closet, okay, Jay Jones. There's another skeleton that isn't as widely reported as the text message thing. According to the Virginia House delegate, Carrie Conner, okay, she was the recipient of these texts. Hold on. Let me double check this. I want to make sure that I pulled this up for you guys. Yeah, she was the recipient of these texts, and she ultimately decided to release them to the public. And I don't know if there was any kind of political, back and forth, should we release them? When's a good time to release them? Who, got her to release them? It doesn't really matter. She ultimately released the text when she did, when he was running for attorney general. That's where we're at now. And she decided to release them to the public. And the embattled Democrat, also, I guess, Jay Jones also told her over the phone, so not via text message, so she doesn't have the receipts here, but I guess he told her over the phone that police officers dying would be a good thing because they would move on not shooting people and not killing people. Now, that was in response to Conner. She was expressing concern over the possible removal of qualified immunity for law enforcement. So let me pull up her statement here. Here we go. I've got it right here. And I'll share this with you, and we'll just read it together, if that's okay. Okay, so Conner said, we had a pretty heated discussion about public policy in Maine involving qualified immunity. I served on the courts committee for a short period of time. A bill removed qualified immunity for police officers, which protects officers from personal liability in the line of duty and in their line of work. He believed that they should not have qualified immunity. And he was trying to convince me to agree with that. And I said, no, police officers have to make a split-second decision about whether to shoot their gun and protect somebody or protect others or protect themselves, right? And if they're having to think about that, will this strip my whole family of everything, right? If they're having to think about, hey, if I fire my gun, am I going to be held personally liable? Am I going to strip my family of everything we've got? If they are having that moment and thinking about that, are they going to be making the split-second decision and the right split-second decision? And she said, quote, I believe that people will get killed. Police officers will get killed. And then he said on the phone to me, well, maybe if a few of them died, they'd move on, not shooting people and not killing people. And I said, that's insane. But he firmly believed that if you removed qualified immunity, that police officers would act differently. And I firmly believe that it would not result in good public policy, and it would put police officers and the public's lives at risk if they have to second guess themselves on decision making or on decisions they're making in a moment where somebody is doing something violent. Okay. So that was a whole nother allegation made by Conner. Okay. And he's denied that. Okay. So he has come out and acknowledged the text messages, has, in my opinion, apologized for it in a second statement, not the first statement. At this point, I think we have to ask ourselves, folks, the question isn't really who Jones wants dead. It's who Jones doesn't want dead. Seems like he wants everybody dead. Okay. Judging by those allegations, judging by the text messages, he's building quite a list at this point. So the question, the better question is who Jones doesn't want dead. So with that and Spanberger's total, I mean, it was a disaster, the debate performance. And I've showed you a few clips from the debate performance a couple of days ago. It's archived. I don't think that she's going to get across the finish line. We'll have to see. The Virginia Democrat Party is in full panic mode. They've got to be. Okay. They are desperately reaching for any kind of excuse that they can to get out of this hole that they've dug themselves into. And none of them have urged Jay Jones to get out of the race. None of them have said that the text messages disqualify them. None of them have pulled their endorsements. So, like I said, we're in the final few weeks here prior to Election Day. Early voting is already underway. And a lot of them have latched onto this whataboutism with the Young Republican group chat, with Donald Trump. And I'm going to play this clip here from this House Democrat. And they're trying to downplay the seriousness of Jay Jones's remarks here. So this House Democrat, his name is Don Beyer, okay, and he's the former lieutenant governor who served in Congress for 10 years. He made really an insulting closing argument for Jay Jones, okay, and it's a video on Instagram. He was asked about the text messages. I'm going to share that with you here. Take a look at this. Here we go.
Mr. Jones, any kind of comment on what's happening with him?
What Jay said was awful. It's no worse than what Donald Trump says almost every day. And the things that J.D. Vance has said, you compare it to the other evil things, people make mistakes. I very much hope he prevails.
How about Mr. Jones, any...
Okay, so you heard it here on the Conservative Cat Show. Really, that's interesting because I pay attention to the news. I do every single day, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've never heard Donald Trump or J.D. Vance express a desire to murder their political opponents and to see their political opponents die in front of their spouses, their political opponents' spouses. I've never heard Trump or Vance say that. Now, that just simply hasn't happened. It just simply isn't true. And I do want to make note of this. There have been attempts on Donald Trump's life, however, politically motivated attempts on Donald Trump's life. We saw that during the 2024 presidential campaign. So for Democrats to resort to this, but Trump and Vance card. And, Vance came out and he said, well, what the Republicans said in this young group chat wasn't even all that bad. Yeah, they said curse words in a group chat because they're 20-something years old. Okay, it'd be weird if they didn't say curse words. And I'm not downplaying. I don't want to downplay it too much because, it was calling Black people watermelon people. That is not something conservative Christians should be doing. You should have a repentant heart and seek God's forgiveness. Okay. Do I think that the young Republicans should have issued a statement? No. That's between you and God. It's a sin. And like all sin, we have to repent. And I'm sure they feel pretty bad about it now and pretty apologetic about it. They issued an official statement, the young Republicans. Trump, or J.D. Vance, he didn't downplay. He was just saying that, hey, these group chats do not amount to anything, do not amount to what Jay Jones said over text message. It doesn't come close. Okay. And he's not wrong there. So, this whole resorting to the but Trump and Vance card thing in light of this Jay Jones text message is pathetic. It's insulting, frankly, to the Virginia voters. But I don't know. I think that a lot of Democrats, you're starting to see this, a lot of Democrats don't mind political violence. I think that a lot of people on the left, a lot of people who vote for these types of people, they're just very mean-spirited and they think that political violence is justified. We know, you and I know the difference between spirited political sparring. Donald Trump making fun of, Marco Rubio's small hands, or, he's a spirited political sparring, quippy guy. Okay, there's a big difference between that and wanting to shoot and expressing fantasies about shooting your colleague on the other side of the aisle in the head and seeing his young children die in his mother's arms. Huge difference. Okay, Trump can come up with funny little nicknames, put Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero. Okay, there's a big difference between that and wanting your colleague to be shot in the head twice. Okay. Now, one has to wonder if this House Democrat, Beyer is his name, he's a Democrat from Virginia, one has to wonder if deep down he knows that what he just claimed about Trump and Vance isn't true. Okay. I have to wonder, you've got to know that deep down that they are not politically violent people. Okay, if they were, they wouldn't have been the victorious ticket in November of 2024. Okay, so is he sticking by Jones in part because, disturbingly, and like I said, there's a growing number of Democrats, not just elected Democrats, but Democrat voters who agree with this sentiment expressed by Jones and think that political violence and killing your political opponent is justified. There's been polls out there. Democrats think that it's okay, that political violence is okay and even justified. So these sickening messages that we saw come out after Charlie Kirk's death, his assassination, his political assassination, I think those messages that we all saw, people putting those out there, I think it proves my point here. It lends my argument credence. Okay. It proves me right, in my opinion, that there are a shocking growing a number of Democrats, elected voters who agree with the sentiment expressed by Jay Jones in these text messages. And I'd love for you to prove me wrong in the comment section. I don't think you can. The Democrat Party is violent, largely violent. Okay. Now, I want to talk about that political hit piece really quick with the Young Republicans. This is actually what was put out by Matt Walsh. He said, quote, if you actually read the political hit piece, you'll see that many of the messages are taken wildly out of context. For example, the guy who said, I love Hitler was clearly being sarcastic. It explicitly was meant to be a sarcastic joke, but yet Politico put the whole quote in the headline of the article, and conservatives are lining up for apologies, to offer apologies. How in the hell is anyone on the right still falling for this trick? How have you not learned by now to take absolutely nothing from this leftist media at face value, especially if it's such a blatantly political hit piece? Yeah, I mean, this is blatant. I think that they clearly, Politico, I said this yesterday, ran it because of the Jay Jones scandal. They really want that attorney general seat. They want the the gubernatorial race to be won by Abigail Spanberger. Clearly a political hit piece. However, I said yesterday, I think that they should have repentant hearts. We really need to expect more from our generation. And I'm guilty of it just as much as the next guy, right? Saying things I shouldn't say, making jokes that are off-colored, okay, distasteful. And you have to have a repentant heart, because we're never going to rise above the left if we play their games or stoop down to their level. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with a repentant heart. I do think that the Young Republican statement, them apologizing publicly, was a bit too far. I think personally, these kids know what they did. Calling Black people watermelon people, okay, even in joke, is not good, and something that should provoke these young children, or these young adults, should provoke them to seek forgiveness and to be repentant, and in their prayer closet with their God, right, ask for forgiveness. Okay. I don't think that it required a full-blown public statement, although I'm proud of the Young Republicans for doing that. I don't think it was necessary, but it does show a big difference between Jay Jones, who issued in his second statement a somewhat remorseful apology. Not really, because he said that it's pretty common for people to call for the death of their political opponents and their children. It shows a very stark difference between them and us. So I want to get to this. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Please do subscribe. Good morning, my patriots. Good morning. I appreciate it. Jay Jones is short for Jim Jones. He is a Kool-Aid commie. Yes, aren't they all? And this is the highest, I want to be clear, one of the highest offices in the land of Virginia. Okay, this is a big role. And the Young Republicans, them in their group chat, they're 20-something years old. They're not running for office, let alone an office that is the lead law enforcement role in the state. Okay, so we should expect more from somebody. I don't even know how old Jay Jones is. I'd imagine he's somewhere in his 40s. 36 years old. Okay, we should definitely expect there is a big difference between somebody who's 20-something years old in college and a 36-year-old man running for the lead law enforcement position in his state. Okay, we should expect more from him. All right, conservative cat show. This is the only place where in Illinois the microphone still tells the truth. Okay. And City Hall is not going to tell you the truth. And I'm breaking this down because today we are talking about the shiny new 1% grocery tax. And they say that in Bloomington is a central Illinois town. They say that it's going to help fix infrastructure. And I just had to address this because I saw that they had voted on this, and it was actually a split vote. And then the mayor, Dan Brady, who was a state Republican, a state lawmaker for some time, he broke the vote, or he was the tie-breaking vote, and voted in this 1% grocery tax. Now, before you roll your eyes, this is not going to be for infrastructure. Okay, I know you're rolling your eyes right now. I saw this, I rolled my eyes. This is a tax and spend trick, and they dress it up in buzzwords. Okay, I've been covering local news for a long time. This is always what happens. It's tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend. They never cut anything. They could have easily cut some sort of spending. Hell, they could have gotten rid of the downtown streetscape. Okay, get rid of that initiative. Get rid of that project. It's a woke infrastructure project. Get rid of it. It's costing us $60 million freaking dollars. We don't need it. Get rid of it, and boom, you have the revenue that you'd collect 20-fold from the 1% grocery tax. You have that revenue if you were to just cut spending. So Mayor Dan Brady and his merry band of councilmen, they voted to make your next trip to Hy-Vee or Kroger more expensive. And they did it all in the name of infrastructure. Aw, so cute. Yeah, infrastructure, you ask. Roads, bridges. No, it's never that way, folks. I'm predicting it now. Save this episode, October 16th, 6:52 a.m. Cat called it. They're going to say it's for infrastructure. No, it's for walkability projects. It's for rainbow colored downtown projects, for library expansions nobody asked for pool renovations nobody really gives a damn about. What they need, they don't need a grocery tax. Okay, what they need is a freaking spine and to cut their spending. Okay, so they love to toss that word around, infrastructure. Okay, Mayor Brady says that it's going to cover roads, sidewalks, buildings, sewers, and other capital projects. Sounds fine, right? Everything sounds fine. But really, I'm telling you, folks, I've seen this before. That's politician speaks for literally anything with a price tag. They're going to take that money and spend it on infrastructure. And they're just going to slap the word infrastructure on it. And you can slap that word on pretty much anything these days, and they do. Rainbow painted sidewalk infrastructure, planters for the Bloomington walkability or walkable downtown streetscape, the little planters for the plants, infrastructure, dumping millions into O'Neill Park Pool, which sits empty. By the way, 10 months out of the year, probably. They're going to call that infrastructure, dumping millions into that. You see, infrastructure is a politician's favorite get out of accountability card. Okay. They love that word, infrastructure. What was it? Joe Biden says bipartisan infrastructure bill. They used it for like maybe a couple of hard infrastructure projects to send out their little press releases. But largely, it was for woke infrastructure. And you see, infrastructure is just their get out of accountability for free card. So we're asking what infrastructure really means. Okay, because Bloomington has this long list of projects, and I'm going to go through them. Those long list of projects that they've spent millions on. And those projects didn't fill potholes. They didn't unclog sewers. You guys remember the consolidated sewer system, which has been around literally for like, I think a century or something, decades. They didn't shift it away from the consolidated sewer system. Now they're working on shifting it away from the consolidated sewer system. And they're trying to rework that sewer system. It's a little too late. Everybody's houses were full of crap, and I mean that literally. Back in 2021, I think it might have been 2021, 2023, there were some flooding, heavy rain, which is to be expected here in the state of Illinois because it's the Midwest. Right. And at the time, I'll never forget it. I mean, there were people out there saying, oh, well, this is the problem. I think it was Chris Cruz. This is the problem with global warming. This is the problem with climate change. There's just these downpours. I have been living in Illinois all my life, and every freaking June there is a lot of rain. Usually every June, May, June, April showers, spring. Sometimes we get a late rain. Like this happens. Okay. At the time, you had people like Mayor Chris Goose blaming, the sun gods or whatever. So they do these projects, and I'm going to get to a few of them of what they've spent money on so far up to this point, and they've called it infrastructure. And these projects don't fill potholes. They don't unclog sewers or unconsolidate the sewer system. And they just fill headlines, okay? And they fill the egos of these city planners, and they pad the resumes of these equity consultants, these projects, okay? What it doesn't fill, these projects, is your grocery cart. Okay, so the grocery tax is a regressive tax. I'll get to what that means here in just a second. But let's talk about who this tax really hurts. It's going to hurt dads trying to stretch their paycheck. It's going to hurt seniors. It's going to hurt working families. And it's not going to hurt the city bureaucrats. It's not going to hurt the developers cashing in on the downtown streetscape revitalization project. It's not going to even hurt the college crowd sipping their lattes and their pride colored they're under their pride colored street lamps, okay, or whatever the hell they do over there on campus. No, it's not going to affect them. It's going to hurt mom buying milk, dad stretching their paycheck, and seniors. Now, Councilwoman Molly Ward, not a fan of her usually, but she said it plain as day. She says the grocery tax is regressive. It puts a burden on those least able to bear it. She's right. So that's exactly what they're doing. They're taxing your damn groceries. They're taxing the gas. They're taxing the property taxes. I mean, and they're thinking that this is all for the common good, and it's for infrastructure. It's for infrastructure. Meanwhile, they're remodeling a largely irrelevant public library. Nobody really goes to public libraries anymore. They remodeled that so they can host their drag queen story hour. They're repaving the gay streetscapes, okay, to make downtown more inclusive and more walkable, as if, potholes, aren't the problem. Okay. They want to make downtown more walkable instead of, I don't know, let's keep money in people's pockets so they can build their businesses in the downtown area, and then they can provide jobs because they can afford to pay somebody and put them on payroll, and that's creating a healthy economy. God forbid we actually use a little bit of our brains here, folks. We have to make it affordable for people to live, work, and raise families in Bloomington. Okay, and this grocery tax is just not going to make it any more affordable. They tax you on the freaking sunrise if they could, okay? They already tax your freaking gas. They already tax your property. They tax your sales tax. They just had implemented a 1% sales tax for the damn schools, okay? So instead of Bloomington leadership, thinking they think that this is going to help infrastructure, and they are making more groceries more expensive in the process. And it's not really going to be infrastructure. And I've been doing this long enough to know that when they say infrastructure, it actually means a bunch of stupid capital projects or stupid projects that nobody really asked for. Okay. This is not leadership. It's laziness. So it's a bad idea. And actually, they took their bad idea and it's a Pritzker blueprint. So what do I mean by that? I don't want you to miss the bigger picture here, because there was a state grocery tax, and that's why they're implementing this grocery tax. Now, it expires on January 1st, 2026, that state grocery tax, okay? Now, Pritzker wanted it gone. Okay. Knowing that the local and allowing the local municipalities to implement their own, he wanted it gone just because he wanted a cute little press release. But it's not going to save you money because the local governments are implementing all of these grocery taxes, okay, at a local level. And Pritzker, really, you should be pissed at him if you are in local government because he made you guys look like the bad guys. It's kind of like shifting money around, okay? But, that doesn't excuse what Bloomington is doing. What they're doing is not replacing something, okay? They're going to try to pitch it like, oh, well, the state, they had a grocery tax, and now it's going to be just implemented at the local level. They're adding this grocery tax to recoup the lost revenue, okay? But they're not replacing something good. They're just copying something rotten. The state grocery tax should have never been a thing in the first place. Okay. But that's how the game works. Springfield, they pull back a tax, City Hall slaps on another, and you get squeezed in between. If they really gave a damn about you, the leadership, Bloomington leadership, what they would have done was said, hey, let's do something good for our residents. Let's not implement this grocery tax. We already raised their water rates by 33% in May of 2024. And then we raised it again in 2025. And we're going to raise it again in 2026. And we said that that's going to go towards hard infrastructure. Why don't we use that money? And, I don't know, the highest property taxes in the nation. Why don't we use all of that, the sales tax, the gas tax, the local gas tax? Why don't we use all of that money coming in already and address the basic infrastructure? And why don't we cut like these stupid projects like the downtown Bloomington streetscape, so that way we have enough money to do the hard infrastructure, okay? So they are really just tax laundering. They're just kind of rearranging the chairs here, okay? They're not really replacing it, and they're going to try to pitch it as if, well, we have to replace it. We have to recoup the lost revenue from the state grocery tax being eliminated. We have to recoup that lost revenue. No. You didn't have to do this. So I want to just shut that down right now. They just pass the same dirty money through different hands, and somehow you end up always footing the bill. Okay, Bloomington thinks they're being clever, but really, you're just playing Pritzker's part in this bigger racket. Okay, you've just taken a page out of his book. Okay, he shouldn't have been collecting it in the first place. The state shouldn't have been collecting it in the first place. And now that they've eliminated it and given you an authority to implement it yourself at the local level, it doesn't justify you doing that. Okay, because it should have never been there in the first place. So they say that your tax will raise about $3 million a year. So the 1% grocery tax is only going to be $3 million a year, which it might sound like a lot, but then you realize like Bloomington spends $3 million like teenager, like they will spend millions like teenagers with their first credit card. Okay. And I want to go through these infrastructure projects, and they called these all infrastructure projects, by the way. This is what your grocery tax is going to go to. I guarantee it. Things like the $60 million downtown streetscape. A streetscape is just expanding the sidewalks. It's fake and gay. Nobody really wants walkability downtown. Everybody likes their American lifestyle where they live in the suburbs and then they commute in 20 minutes to work. Okay. Walkability doesn't really matter downtown. Okay, sorry. That's just not the way American culture is. There's been studies that have been done where you can make all these cute little park benches and make it super walkable for everybody, but Americans, they don't really like that kind of stuff. It's like a silly European thing that they're trying to shove down your throat. $60 million for that crap. Okay, then you've got the $13.8 million for the O'Neill Pool renovations. This is a facility that probably operates like 2 months out of the year. Okay, it's a pool, and we live in Illinois. They spent $13 million on it. Okay, this $3 million is going to be sucked up like that. They did not need it. Okay, $25 million for library modernization, the public library, you know, so kids could have their this book is gay shelf or queer questioning books on the kids' shelves in the library. $25 million for that. And public libraries, like I said, largely irrelevant. We have things like, oh, I don't know, a library right here in my hand. Okay, so largely irrelevant. You didn't need to spend $25 million on it. So that's the kind of crap that they're going to be spending your grocery tax money on, and they will call it infrastructure, but it's not really infrastructure. See, folks, it's not infrastructure. It's a life subsidy. And really what's going on here is these city planners and these bureaucrats, they come from these faraway places like Chicago, and then they get jobs in Bloomington and in this city as a bureaucrat or as a city planner, and they hate you. They hate their own taxpayers. They hate your way of life, and they're going to take your money. They're going to spend it on amenities that they like, but that you could give two craps about. Okay, that's really, I wish it was more complicated than that. It's not. These people hate you and your lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle subsidy for them. They want to make their lifestyle more walkable. They want the library to be modernized. They want the pool, the city pool to be nice. But you don't care about any of that stuff. You're just trying to put groceries on the table, get your kids to school on time. Like you don't care. Okay, so really what you're doing, you're paying for their vanity. You're paying also for their next ribbon cutting photo. This is a photo op opportunity. They cut the ribbon on the O'Neill Park pool, and they're like, "Oh, we love the kids. Okay, we're for the community." Or you go to the public library, cut the ribbon, and we love librarians are pro pro Dan Brady, and I know Dan Brady wasn't there when we approved the $25 million for the public library. I'll give him some grace there. And maybe I'm wrong, folks. Maybe my prediction is totally wrong. But I've been doing this long enough. The $3 million is going to be eaten up like that. And it's probably going to be shifted towards one of these infrastructure projects, which they're not really infrastructure. It's really going to be a chance for a press release to go out about how there's equity in urban design, or look at this politician is all about public libraries, and the librarians say yes to Dan Brady, something like that, to that effect. Okay, and they'll say that your taxpayer dollar, they're protected. We're going to dedicate it to hard infrastructure. It's protected. Yeah, protected for your own use. You say that you're going to use it for the hard infrastructure. The people in Bloomington know that the potholes have existed for years. They know that the consolidated sewer system has existed for years. They know that you are still on lake source water, which is stupid and outdated. Okay. They know that they've been doing you've been saying it for years that you're going to fix it, and you never do. So let me tell you this. When they say your funds are protected, what they really mean is that you will never see where they go, and they will never go back to you, okay, in the form of infrastructure or public safety. They never do. Okay. You want to know the real reason why they're doing this? It's because Bloomington leaders, they live in a bubble. They think everyone wants, because they think everybody wants to live in a walkable utopia with coffee bars and public art made out of recycled bike chains, okay? And they think everybody's dreaming about a vibrant, inclusive downtown. And half the city residents, I'm telling you, most of these city residents, Bloomington city residents, you're just thinking about, damn, can I afford eggs this week? Like, that's not representation, it's elitism. And they live in their own little bubble. Okay, that's why they do these things and they pass this stuff. Okay, so infrastructure is supposed to serve the people, but in Bloomington, the people serve the infrastructure. You get that? I'm going to say it one more time. In Bloomington, the people serve the infrastructure. The infrastructure is supposed to serve the people. So every new improvement that the city makes, it makes it more expensive to live there, by the way. Your property taxes are going to keep going up. It makes it less livable. And every improvement is more detached than the last one from the people who built it. People don't care about that stuff. Okay. All right. I want to bring this home biblically. Proverbs 11:1 says this: the Lord detests dishonest scales, because accurate weights find favor with him. Every dishonest tax is a crooked scale. Every smiling politician who hides a spending spree behind the infrastructure claim is a false witness. And our families are called to stewardship, not servitude. And it feels like we're serving the government. The government is supposed to serve the family, not exploit it. And leaders have forgotten that. And it's our duty to remind them loudly that you exist to serve us, not the other way around. Okay, so in closing, Bloomington doesn't need a grocery tax. They need fiscal discipline. They need leaders who can say no to the next shiny little project that comes across their desk. They need citizens who will show up and say enough is enough. You can't tax your way to prosperity. You just can't do it. And City Hall, they'll say infrastructure, but you got to check the fine print on that. Okay, because usually infrastructure means the next woke pet project. And until Bloomington fixes their fiscal discipline issue, every new tax is just going to be another brick in the wall between the people and their own government. So that is all I had there about Bloomington. I do want to get to Chloe Cole being on ISU's campus, because this is fascinating. She's a detransitioner, so she was transgender and she's been detransitioning off of hormones. She had a double mastectomy. Truly tragic stuff. She delivered a message so simple that it shattered an entire ideology on Illinois State University's campus the other day. I think she was there a couple of days ago. And there were counter protesters. Her crime here, her message, she said it out loud. Look, there are only two sexes, and that cannot change. That is something that cannot be changed. And the crowd, predictable. You had a left-wing local blogger from Agitation Rising, an anarchist journalist, I suppose, who went undercover in a Trump hat and tried to ambush her with all kinds of questions. Spoiler, it did not go well for the ambusher. So I'm going to share Chloe Cole's comments and how she handled the ambusher, the undercover Trumper. And really, he's like an anarchist. He runs this left-wing blog. It's called Agitation Rising. It's a local leftist blogger. So we're going to play the clip here next. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you're watching. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Picture it. It is a quiet lecture hall, and it's been turned into a battleground. Chloe Cole, she's a young woman. She's like 20s, I think, barely in her 20s. She stood up at this podium, not with rage, but with resolve. Okay, no teleprompter, no corporate backing. Okay, she just shared her lived truth, and she shared some moral clarity with those in this lecture hall on ISU's campus. Now, she started telling her story how, she was a confused teen And she was fast-tracked into puberty blockers, testosterone, a double mastectomy before she was even old enough to vote. Okay, and how adults in her life should have protected her, but they cheered while the surgeons cashed in checks and made her a cash cow. Okay, so she starts telling her story here in this lecture hall. And, this is human tragedy, what's gone on. And so I went to Illinois State University, and I didn't have a roommate who was transgender, but she was over all of the time. She looked like a man. I had no idea this person was a transgender individual. I came from corn country, right? Never really experienced any of that in my life. I was a corn girl, child of the corn. Never saw a transgender person. And now looking back on it, I was like, yeah, I probably should have. But the facial hair and the name, my name is Grant, or my name is, a male name, and I did not know. And then later we found out that this individual was in fact transgender, and I actually was drawn to this ideology, this transgender ideology, because I thought it was strange. I mean, being a corn girl, being a child of the corn, I was like, this is fascinating. So I actually had a college assignment, a class assignment, to do a documentary type thing, where you do a 4 or 5 minute video piece on a person of interest. So I did a video piece for my assignment. And at the time, I was not political. I did not, I was not right-winged in any kind of way. I liked Donald Trump. I would go home, watch the news with my parents, considered myself a Republican, I guess. But I was kind of more apolitical. And at the time, I was just focused on trying to get A's in college. And the way to do that was to act like a leftist and to say outrageous leftist things. So I was kind of a closeted conservative on campus. So this person who the documentary was all about, I was very kind, nice, and we did the video. And when it got to the puberty blockers, and when it got to testosterone and the way this individual took testosterone, you take it up the butt, it's a needle, you just shove it right there in your butt cheek. And I started asking very basic questions about this, okay, and not combative at all, wasn't judging this individual. I was just simply asking, does it hurt? How does it make you feel? Because I was trying to complete my assignment, and I was just genuinely curious. And I had, like I said, no feelings on the topic at all, about the topic at all. I was apolitical mostly. And this individual, I could see it. The life just came out of their eyes as soon as I started asking very simple questions about the testosterone regimen and the puberty blockers. And I felt really bad for asking the questions, but you could see in this person's face that she was not happy about the process of becoming a man, and that it was a painful thing to talk about. And she actually said, I'd prefer not to talk about that. Okay, so Chloe Cole, it's a human tragedy what happened to her. It's a human tragedy what I believe happened to this woman that I knew in school and did the documentary series on, or the documentary on. And, I think it's a human tragedy, because when you start to confront transgender individuals, and I've talked with plenty right here on this show. There was actually a woman transitioned, talked with me, was featured in the Matt Walsh documentary, What is a Woman? And she's been on with me, talked about how they cut open her arm and took out, skin and flesh to try to create a penis in a gender reassignment surgery or whatever. Okay. And how everything is so painful. This individual that I knew back in college had actually constantly been wearing crutches and casts, and I didn't quite understand later, fast forward to today when I became a hardcore conservative, somebody on the right, and I've researched this stuff extensively. Testosterone kind of has an effect on women like osteoporosis. It kind of throws you into an osteoporosis, makes your bones really brittle. Your hormones play a huge role in your growth. This individual had been transitioning for quite some time, since childhood, and had gotten to college, looked like a full-blown man. So I didn't know until a month into our friendship, and this person disclosed it, and I was like, whoa, I had no idea. Can you be featured in my class assignment? I've got this class assignment. I think that your story would be really interesting. So back to Chloe Cole. Sorry, I've kind of derailed a little bit. Gave you some personal stories, but I've interviewed them here on this show, transgender individuals who regret the decision. This woman who was featured in What is a Woman, she was featured in What is a Woman, transitioned to a man, and talked about how painful it was to recover from this surgery where they took a good chunk of her arm out to try to create a penis. And most sad interviews I've ever done in all my career would be with transgender individuals or detransitioners. So I've talked to a detransitioner, not Chloe Cole, and I've talked to a transgender individual for a documentary series that I did in college as a class assignment. And those are the toughest interviews I've ever done because it's very uncomfortable, and they're uncomfortable by their decision to trans themselves. And they might not say it. For example, the individual I interviewed for the docuseries or the documentary didn't outright say like, "Oh, I hate being transgender." Like clearly this person was very much about being transgender. But the moment I started to press just slightly on what it means to be transgender and the hormones that you have to take, started to break down because it's that painful physically. Okay, so a human tragedy, what we've done to young children. And she was standing there in the belly of the beast, Chloe Cole, Illinois State University, and she was exposing this for what it is, a human tragedy. And the university's inclusive crowd, right? They of course were screaming outside of the lecture hall, and instead of being met with the same anger and vitriol, they actually just got fed a truth bomb, and it was wrapped in this calm confidence, grace that Chloe Cole has. She just gave them the truth, and it was wrapped in this calm confidence. And she did a beautiful job, especially considering one of the agitators from outside came inside. And this is a guy who I've met, by the way, and I really think that he's close to becoming a conservative. I know that sounds crazy, but the guy has a Trump hat. Okay. So I've met him. Honestly, his name slips my mind. I can't remember. He's been on with a few of my colleagues on their radio shows and on their podcast. And he operates a far left blog, and it's called Agitation Rising. And he thought he was going to pull this gotcha moment on Chloe Cole because he was in this Trump hat and he thought he was blending in and he was going undercover, and that's how delusional these people are. They think that pretending to be a conservative for 5 minutes is like going into enemy territory undercover. Although like a Trump supporter will like ask you, hey, what's your favorite breakfast place, and would you like to get a cup of coffee with me? Like MAGA people, nicest people I've ever, I've gone to Trump rallies and have met some of my bestest friends, continued to text me or message me on Facebook and, hey, how's the husband? How's the kid? How's the pregnancy going? How's your life? Nicest people, strangers that you meet at these Trump rallies, and they're the sweetest people. But he, of course, throws on the Trump hat, which is odd that he has a Trump hat. I know this person, met him a couple of times, and his name is honestly slipping from me right now, and I didn't even bother to look it up. But he has always been sort of like, there's some of these people who are so far left that they're on the cusp of seeing the light. They are so far gone that they are like, maybe this is really bad, and like they're on the cusp of becoming one of us. And I think that's what this guy is. It's odd that he has a Trump hat. Where did he get it? Why did he buy it? You know what I mean? I think that he's about ready to become a conservative, like closeted conservative. Like he's on the cusp of just saying, oh yeah, this is a kind of delusional ideology that I am a part of. So he marches up there, this guy, and he's ready to trap Chloe Cole, right? And he's got some rehearsed activist questions, and I'll play him here. But the problem he runs into is that you can't really trip up honesty. You can't really trip up somebody who knows the truth and has a lived experience. And he fires off her question, and she answers it calmly, factually, and he tries again. You know, another ideological talking point, and she answers again, politely, directly. After several exchanges, she finally just drops the mic and she says, look, man, there's two sexes and you can't change it. Silence. Cheers. Busted out of the lecture hall. And look, because the truth, it resonates with people. Take a listen. This is a bit of a longer clip, but it's definitely worth the watch. Here we go.
Sold out.
Yeah, I got it at the event in April.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, how are you so sure that your individual experience is an indictment on all transgender healthcare and not just a singular instance of malpractice when the regret rate among trans people is still like less than 1%?
It's all malpractice. And the statistic that you're citing is from a series of studies that are highly biased, that do not give their patients nearly enough time to decide whether or not they actually regret it or not. And I mean, regret for transgender procedures is understood to take about 7 years to over a decade to fully materialize and be understood. Which in a lot of these studies around regret and happiness, they're giving them only about like a few months time or less than 5 years after they've had these treatments. To decide
about the study regret after gender affirming surgery, a systematic review and meta-analysis of prevalence. Is that the one that you're talking about?
Well, there's a few different studies. I can't memorize every single one of them.
2022 has 8,000 trans people. So I mean, I'm citing a specific study.
Okay.
Is that the one you're
Well,
talking about?
I don't have enough time to like look into it, but I've actually.
Have you read these studies?
I have, yes, I have. And the more you read, funnily enough, the more that you read these studies, the more that you can deconstruct them and realize just how biased they are. But I'm speaking generally, they don't give enough time for these patients to decide whether or not they actually regret it. And regrets, and I think that many of them don't really have a way of properly quantifying regret. They often base it on measures that are purely subjective, such as happiness, which we're not supposed to be happy every single day, every single moment of our lives. That's just ridiculous. For every single one of us, unhappiness with ourselves and our identities and our bodies is something that is just inevitable. But these studies also, they will actively exclude people who have detransitioned from them because they no longer identify as transgender. And if you're studying transgender people, why would a detransitioner participate in that?
So can you cite a single study that agrees with your position about the detransition? Can you cite a single study that shows that the regret rate is actually much, much higher than what the actual studies are?
So there was a study conducted in Sweden, actually, over the course of, I think, 30 years, the single biggest one. And when they looked at the
2010, right?
It might have been 2010, but I think it began in the last century. But it turned out that in these adult transgender people, who went through the process, went all the way, who had hormones, who had surgery, they actually had higher rates of mental illness and poor outcomes.
And the reason that they said that in the study, if you actually read it, and if you talk to the author, they say it was because of social pressure. It wasn't because of the medication. Because I've also read that study as well. Like, I can send you a copy if you want. I'd be happy to.
Go ahead. I mean, you can if you want to.
No, I believe in facts, not feelings, so I'll be happy to send you all the stuff.
Hey, so do I. You seem very motivated by feelings right now, though. Well, the truth is, it doesn't matter what BS study you pull up. Sex is something. There were only two sexes, and it cannot be changed, no matter what intervention study it goes through. And rejecting reality is never going to bring you true happiness.
With that attitude. That's what I'm saying.
All right, I think you asked your question. I think. Thank you.
Isn't that incredible? And then you have to have the, police officers escort him out. And it's kind of sad. You can't even have debate anymore because of the deranged left. You can't have debate without armed officers and police officers right outside the door. It's quite sad. So you could see the wires almost like short-circuiting in this guy's head. And I've met this guy before. I think that he's on because he's always willing to, and he likes to hang out with conservatives. And he's always willing to talk to conservatives. I think that he's on the precipice here of becoming a conservative. But his whole identity up to this point has been built on chaos, and it was just wrecked by a woman who simply told the truth. And she did a great job because she talked about how some of these studies that say that, transgender people are actually much happier after they transition. They pull transgender individuals who don't have the time to regret the choice that they made to transition or to get the gender affirming surgery or to take the puberty blockers or hormones. It takes a lot of time to regret that choice. As Chloe Cole said, it can take up to a decade because some of this stuff physically doesn't take a toll on your body until decades or like 10 years. Okay. So taking testosterone, for example, the person that I knew in college had started taking testosterone as a young 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and started taking it up to 18. Well, that's 10 to 18. Let's just say 10 to 18. That's only 8 years, okay, of taking testosterone. And up to that point, I told you that this person, we were always so confused by it up to the point until, I realized much later in life why this individual was constantly in casts, crutches, broken arms, broken wrists. I never understood. I was like, man, this person's just really clumsy, I suppose, at the time, because I didn't know the effects that testosterone has in a woman's body. And it just makes sense. Women who go through menopause lose that estrogen and testosterone. If they take a hormone blocker of some kind and pair that with the testosterone, you're going to get osteoporosis. So this individual, I didn't know it at the time, probably had some sort of osteoporosis. Their bones were so brittle that they just started breaking, and they were constantly in crutches. And I was just so confused by it. And she was getting to a point, probably where that regret was starting to settle in. Okay, 8 years. And where the effects of that hormone blocking and testosterone really started to take a physical toll. And the physical toll being osteoporosis, your bones quite literally breaking out from underneath you. Okay, so this agitation rising guy, he scurried home, I'm sure, with his exclusive footage, and he thinks that he's going to roast her, with his exclusive footage. But Chloe Cole did beautifully. She said, well, it actually takes a lot of time to regret this because the physical toll of transitioning doesn't set in until many years later. And they use these studies with transgender individuals who have just been transitioning for a couple of years, 3 years, and they don't have that physical change really happen and the effects of that haven't really played out. So she says that, and then she says also they don't allow detransitioners to participate in these studies. So people who used to identify as transgender, they only allow transgender individuals to participate in these studies. Wouldn't you think that you'd want these studies to have people who have been transgender and have decided not to be transgender, not to skew your studies, somebody who, might have a different ideology around transgenderism at this point? You would want to be inclusive in your study of all people who have taken these hormones and these gender affirming surgeries and have done that. You'd want to include all of those types of people. But you have to identify as transgender in order to participate in these studies. And she said that. So she roasted him. She handled him with great respect, more respect than he showed her. He went in there under false pretenses, really, with the undercover hat, the Trump hat. I think he got it at an event in April. And like I said, I think this individual is on the precipice, like just on the cusp of becoming a conservative. I think it's odd that all the left wingers I know would not be caught dead wearing a Trump hat. Okay. And not want to talk to conservatives. So I think that deep down in your heart, Mr. Agitation Rising activist, that Chloe Cole is right. Okay. And that's the thing. Chloe Cole is such a light. She doesn't need to shout at darkness. She was very kind, very respectful to him. Light doesn't need to shout at the darkness. It just needs to shine, and the darkness kind of dissipates. So it's a dark room. You turn the light on, the darkness just kind of flees to the corners of the room. Okay. So meanwhile, on ISU's campus, you had the Gender Justice Coalition. They released a statement about the harmful rhetoric. Okay, well, let's decode what they mean by harmful rhetoric. Harmful rhetoric is actually just truth that they can't refute. Okay, so Chloe Cole is dangerous to the left, and here's why: because she exposes a system they built, one that profits off of broken children, and she's living evidence that the gender industry is not compassionate, that the gender industry is about commerce and about money. Hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, activist groups have created a pipeline. You get the confused teen, which any teenager is confused, and she actually talked about this, and it's biblical. You are never going to love yourself fully. Okay, we're designed not to. We're designed to have this understanding of our inherent sin. Okay, and what the gospel says is that, hey, it's okay, you are forgiven. Okay, but what the left will say is, hey, you're perfect the way you are, but that's never going to line up with reality, because you're not perfect. You know that you aren't God, that you aren't an omnipotent being, that you're not all powerful, and that you're not all good, because you are aware of your inherent sin. And when people tell you that you're perfect no matter what, and that does not coincide with reality, then you're going to come up with all of this suicide and depression. Okay, only through the gospel are we saved. Only through Jesus Christ are we saved. We are told through Jesus, through his sacrifice on the cross, that, hey, you are forgiven, and you are a new creation if you profess me as Lord and Savior over your life. Okay, so the way this kind of starts out is confused teen. Okay, and as Chloe Cole said, that's kind of inevitable. We're all kind of confused. We all kind of don't like ourselves at some point in our lives. We all kind of get down on ourselves. That's just the human condition, right? So they start with a confused teen. They affirm that confused teen and the delusions, because you're a perfect little snowflake, and you can't be wrong, or we're going to affirm it through gender therapies, and we're not going to tell you that, hey, actually you're saved by grace. You don't have to beat yourself up because you are forgiven. You do bad things. but you are forgiven. You are going to be confused. You are not going to like yourself, but guess who does love you enough to die for you? That was Jesus. So they affirm you through gender hormones, therapies, and synthetic hormones, and reassignment surgeries. So they get you to affirm your confusion and really lie to yourself. Then they get you on hormones. Then they get you to surgery. Now you are a lifetime medical patient, and you have a lifetime medical dependency. Okay, so really, it's not about compassion. It is about commerce. And here's the part that they hate most. When someone escapes this pipeline, Chloe Cole, and tells their story, they can't cancel Chloe Cole. She's not selling an ideology. She's telling her experience. Okay, they can't out-credential her because her scars speak louder than their slogans. Okay, she has this lived experience, and that's why the left panics. That's why this, Gender Justice Coalition issued their statement about hateful rhetoric. They were trying to shut down Chloe Cole because they know how damaging it is to their cause. To have someone out there speak to their experience, you can't out-credential her. You can't ideology her because she's not really selling ideology. She's telling her experience. And, one voice of repentance can unravel an empire of lies. So that's why a lot of people, I think, tune into this show. I was a part of it. I was an NPR employee. It's embarrassing, I know. I was a part of the leftist culture. I mean, heck, she wasn't a roommate of mine, but had a very good friend who was a transgender individual, very close to this person. I lived it, okay, at ISU's campus. Pretended to be a leftist, had a professor call for me in a paper to call for Trump's execution. Okay. He goes, oh, well, the paper was good, but you could go further and call for Trump to die. Okay. So I've seen this. I worked at NPR. They told me that I was bigoted because I referred to a third world country as a third world country and not a developing nation, which is just a lie. They're not developing. And they told me in classrooms that the AP style book was your Bible. Okay. So I lived it, and people tune in this show because really I have a voice of repentance. I feel terrible for the way that I lived my life during that period because God called me to be something different, and I was ignoring him, and I didn't listen to him. And, one voice of repentance, and I repent of that. I repent of lying to myself, not accepting the truth, denying God and his plans and purposes for me. And one day I just said, I'm going to repent out loud, and I'm not going to live my life this way anymore. And then the empire of lies that I believed in just started to crumble and unravel. And repentance is huge. So scripture is clear. In Genesis 1, male and female, he created them. That's biology, theology, and reality all in one verse, okay? Genesis 1, male and female, he created them. And the moment we deny that, everything starts to collapse. Family, identity. And if the truth is whatever we feel, then government becomes the new God. Okay, deciding pronouns today, speech tomorrow, and belief the day after. What you should believe in. Okay, so the truth isn't what we feel. The truth is the truth. And the conservative movement must never compromise on this issue because it's not about politics. It's about truth versus delusion. And it's about whether children are image bearers of God or experiments of ideology. That's what this is about. So, this guy, this anarchist blogger, he went undercover, and he thought that this was going to be, the cloak of invisibility, Harry Potter, and he was going to be invisible amongst normal people. Newsflash, pretending to be conservative for 5 minutes and wearing a Trump hat doesn't make you brave. It makes you a cosplayer. And it's kind of flattering to be honest with you. You want to cosplay and be one of us, just come on over, man. Just come on over to our side. I know you're just on the precipice of becoming a conservative. These activists, actually, if they were to actually spend some of their time listening to what we have to say and not plotting these silly little stunts and going in there under false pretenses, which is a form of violence. You might not think so, but he was trying to masquerade his identity as a supporter of hers. And to me, that's lying. And you're going in there under false pretenses. If they spent as much time as they do listening, as they do trying to pull off these plotting stunts, they might actually learn something. Had he actually listened to Chloe Cole about those studies and about the types of people that they use in those studies, not people who have been on transgender hormones for 10 years, but rather 2 or 3 years, and the full effect of those hormones haven't set in. Or, people who have taken those hormones and don't identify as transgender anymore, they're not allowed to participate in those studies. So Chloe's moment at Illinois State was more than just a campus dust-up. I think that this is a cultural turning point. The tide is turning. I know you feel it. It's turning in even blue states. Truth is finding a microphone, and parents are waking up. I think that doctors are going to start disassociating from this gender-affirming industry. And I think students on campus are going to start whispering to each other, hey, Chloe's right. She's right. She's onto something. So to the students at Illinois State University, when you're told to clap for delusion, remember Chloe Cole. When you're told that silence is kindness, remember that she spoke up anyway. Silence is not kindness. The kind thing to do is to tell them the truth and to say, yes, you might be confused. You might not like your body, but guess what? Guess who does love your body? Jesus. He loved it so much that he was willing to brutalize his body on the cross. And he was willing to carry that cross and get nailed up on it for you. Okay. So, speak up. The agitators, to those agitators hiding under Trump hats, maybe next time, try to be a little bit more humble. Try hiding under humility, and realize that you can't really trip somebody up who has the truth. You can't infiltrate the truth. The truth is going to expose you every single time. All right. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I've got a few more stories. I want to get to this. Democrats are very insufferable, and they are a very predictable lot. A lot of people. They are a predictable group. Okay. And that has certainly been the case this week throughout the Chuck Schumer shutdown. And we are entering our 3rd week into the Schumer shutdown. Thanks to the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer. And I don't think that this is going to end anytime soon. But don't freak out, because this has happened before. In 2018, the government was shut down for 36 days, something like that. I don't think we're close to ending. Now, the Democrat foolishness was on full display, and it was on full display this week when a group of Democrats, and they're so freaking predictable. I mean, they're the little insurrectionists. They call you an insurrectionist. They're the insurrectionists. They stormed House Speaker Mike Johnson's office, and they demanded that he swear in Edelita Griviala. So she won this special election to replace her father, Raul Griviala, in Congress. Okay. And they wanted Mike Johnson to swear in right away. And this was an embarrassing clown show. Okay. And one congresswoman, her name is Nanette Bargan. She's a Democrat out of California. They were storming his office because he's got to swear this woman in. and they held a special election. I don't know about you, but it just kind of feels like gross that you have his daughter taking his seat. I mean, it feels sort of nepotism-y. You know what I mean? I get it. They held a special election, but to replace her late father. But still, I don't really like when you've got like family members serving in the same seat. Seems a little, what's the word? Not diverse. So this woman, Nanette, she's a congresswoman. She was yelling at a Capitol Police officer, and she ripped down. It was a shutdown, Schumer shutdown graphic that was posted right outside of Mike Johnson's office. Now, if you've never been to DC, if you walk around, you can actually see all of their offices. A lot of these congressmen have, posters or flags outside of their office as a form of expression. Now, the videos of this woman, this congresswoman, Nanette, these videos have gone viral. Okay. And now this congresswoman is pushing back on the criticisms, some of which have come from Mike Johnson himself. But people have said that she was very juvenile, okay, in her actions here, tearing down the posters, touching things that aren't hers. And she alleged, without evidence, that there was a Capitol Police officer who grabbed her forcibly and grabbed her amid her sign grabbing, which the video doesn't show anything of that sort, and I haven't seen one yet that shows that this Capitol Police officer grabbed her. And very insulting, by the way. She came out, Nanette Barragan, or whatever her name is. She's from California, Democrat. Most insultingly, she came out and she said that the Capitol Police officer came and found her and tried to apologize. So she made a statement. She said that the officer forcibly grabbed her on her back as she and the Democrats tried to speak to Johnson at his office. Well, you did more than try to speak to him. Okay. You were tearing down his stuff outside of his office. Okay. Things that weren't yours. I don't know about you, but my mom and dad always told me don't touch things that aren't yours. Okay. The officer, she claims in this statement, tried to find me and apologize for the incident. She goes, quote, I appreciate the officer's gesture, and I'm grateful for the work that our Capitol Police officers do. She continues in the statement, I know they have a difficult job and are being asked to work without pay during this Republican shutdown. I'm hopeful that the Capitol Police leadership will make sure our officers are trained well and do not prevent members from carrying out their constitutional duties. So apparently constitutional duties means tearing down posters that aren't yours, bullying, pushing past Capitol Police officers, that they claim to respect, by the way. She claims in the same sentence that, I respect Capitol Police officers, but there's video of you pushing past them, vandalizing stuff, stealing things that don't belong to you, like a child. Okay. And for those of you who missed the videos, I have some that I'm going to pull up here. Hold on. I got to pull these up. Videos. Yes. You might have missed the videos. For those of you that did, I'm going to play them. They've gone viral. The first one that I'll show you is the incident from a wide angle. And then the second one is a zoomed in clip of this congresswoman yelling at the officer. And this officer is actually showing remarkable restraint. If somebody got into my face like this and started yelling at me, I think I would have shoved her out of my face. But the officer did not do that on this tape. Take a look. Here we go. Okay, the videos do not catch him touching her at all. It really just shows her screaming at him and pointing her. Have you ever noticed this? We played the clip. Why do leftist women point fingers? I don't know about you, but my mom always told me not to point. Maybe other conservative parents do that. Pointing is not nice. Okay. What was it my mom said? When you point at somebody, you've always got like 3 fingers pointing back at you. Nancy Pelosi, she was pointing at this reporter. She shoved her like grubby little mitten in her face, the reporter's face. And like, they always point, but it's always like a curved finger as well. Like, it's never like they're sure of themselves and they're like pointing like this. They've always got like this curved hook. Like, like they're like little talons. You know what I mean? So I want to play the second clip. Here we go. Hold on. Let me pull up the second clip and you're going to get a closer up shot here, I think. I hope that I can find this second clip. That might have been... Okay, that is actually the close up. This was the wider angle, I think. Yeah, let me play this one. They're just all circulating these videos online. Here we go. Take a listen. I'm going to pause that there and show you. So look in the background. You see the poster. The congresswoman goes up and she starts taking down the poster. Okay, right there. Okay. So there you have it. You kind of saw the officer maybe touch her back. I didn't see her forcibly grab her from behind. I didn't see any of that. He might have brushed up against her and said like, hey, what are you doing? You can't vandalize stuff that's not yours. You can't steal stuff that's not yours. This is the speaker's office. You guys can't go in there. You're stewarding his office. They didn't go there to talk to Speaker Mike Johnson. Okay. They went there to storm and to act as like little insurrectionists. Okay. Now there was a brief interview done after this little exchange with the officer accosting her. I don't know about you. I watched the same clip from the wide angle and I don't think she was accosted. Okay. But she was telling this reporter in this interview that she was accosted. And that they should not, Capitol Police officers should not be accosting members of Congress. Okay. So let me play this for you. I'm going to share this. This is an interview done shortly after that little exchange I just played for you.
How are you? I saw that there was like a little skirmish over there with USCP. Can you explain what happened?
I didn't appreciate that.
Can you explain what happened?
Well, I was going into the speaker's office as members of Congress can do, and he grabbed me by the side over here as to like, get me out of the way.
What?
And I said, excuse me, and he said, I said, I'm a member, and he said, oh, and then he asked me if everybody else was with me as if they were not members of Congress either. So clearly this is an officer who couldn't even recognize the face of one of 30 members of Congress. It was quite...
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that Capitol Police officers can't remember all, 100... I don't know how many members of Congress are there. Members of Congress number, I don't know how many there are now. Yeah. The House of Representatives, 535, 435. Yeah. Representatives. And then there are 100 senators. Yeah. 2 from each state. So there's over 400 Congress members. Okay. Yeah, I'm willing to bet this guy that's probably not paid a whole lot, doesn't know every member of Congress and their faces. Sorry, I had to chime in there, but she goes, he grabbed me, like accosted me. Did you guys watch the clip I saw? Take a look.
Shocking, but very startling to have a Capitol Hill police officer grabbing me and, by the back over here, when there's no reason to. I'm in the Capitol, I'm a member of Congress, I have my pin on. There was a bunch of us, we all have our pins on, so I think it was totally uncalled for.
Do you plan to report it in any way?
What elitism? Okay, I have my pin on. Which means I'm untouchable. No, you are vandalizing things and you are forcing yourself into an office that's not yours. He was doing his job.
Well, I think I'll have a call with the Capitol Police supervisor about it. They just, should not be accosting members of Congress.
And had you given them a heads up that you guys were going to be coming up this evening?
That's something you'd have to talk to the DWC about. I think it was widely known that we were going to come over too.
Did you tell the Capitol Police officers that you would be doing this little stunt? You had a storm of people going in, tearing down the speaker's stuff. Here's another video. Hold on. I think that we've got another one. This is just from another angle. Members of Congress, we can do anything we want. Honestly, the audacity of these people, they claim that they respect Capitol Police, and yet they turn around and accuse this guy who is just simply doing his job. He's in the middle of a shutdown. He's not even really getting paid to do it at this point. He's going to probably get the back pay. But then you've got these Democrats like this woman. I mean, the audacity is off the charts here. Okay. I mean, Nanette Barragan, whatever her name is, she's a Democrat from California, has made this officer a pawn in her sick, attention-seeking, virtue signaling game, and it's totally pathetic. That meeting with the Capitol Police, she said, I'm probably going to have a call with the Capitol Police. That meeting, if she gets it, or the phone call, if she gets it, is going to be quite interesting, especially considering you have the United States Capitol Police Labor Committee Chairman Gus Papathanasio. He told Politico that Barragan was the one who should be apologizing because her actions were unacceptable. And he commended the officer actually for keeping his cool. So I'd be kind of curious how that phone call goes, because I don't think that this Chairman Gus Papathanasio, sorry, these people have got crazy names. I don't think that he's a proponent of Democrat privilege, elitist privilege. I don't think that he's a fan of it or a proponent for it. It doesn't sound like it anyway. So good for him. And that's going to do it for today's show. I don't know, folks. These people are, and notice I'm going to play this one clip. Hold on. Let me go back. I'm going to share this one with you. Like, look at all of these. And they've got their arms linked together. I mean, the feminist. Oh, wait. Hold on. I'm going to share this with you. Swear her in. 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 There's just so many women. The feminization of government. They're all linking arms and they're all swear her in, women are so toxic, and I say that as a woman because they all kind of feed off of each other. You go, girl, you're a boss babe, go get it, and it's like you're nothing special. Okay, like, get out of here. All right, that's gonna do it for us. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Share this out, and as always, I'm going to ask you to support the program by visiting patriotpumpenergy.com, getting your bottle of premium pre-workout using promo code ConservativeCat. Bye-bye. Love you so much. We'll be back again tomorrow.